Whether you right or wrong is a different question, but that is the world in which they are growing. But our school tries to really create a different kind of pedagogy. Why this integration is very important? I think that's where the issue of what I would say the new world and the inclusive world, if we are trying to create, why should we be doing? I just want to therefore read one or two things to you in terms of how do we really look at. The message of the 21st century is very clear to us. We must begin to apply technology to education far more speedily than in the past, but in a contextualized manner. For this to happen, we have to create a critical mass of digitally literate teachers, and this has to happen quickly. Exclusion from technology, I am quoting from an international report. Exclusion from technology places teachers and schools at a disadvantage in the coming information society. It creates an ever larger rift between high society, between high technology and the modernization of the elite on the one hand, and the marginalization of the majority of the population on the other. The swift pace of high-tech advances drives another wedge between youngsters. The haves will be able to communicate around the globe. The have-nots will be consigned to the rural backwaters of the information society. I think it's a very important message also for inclusive education. That inclusive education is not just bringing some children and making them sit in your classroom alone. That what is it that you are able to give to children, I think that also can really change and create an exclusive society, not an inclusive society as such. So I believe, therefore, a very important one is that we have to ourselves change our way of really learning. If you have to really teach children to learn differently. What we are today as teachers is that, yes, we have all learned some use of some gadgets. And we do use, I'm sure that almost all of you must be using some technology also in your classroom or in dealing with children. But that is only one. But we are not really learning through the technology. And therefore, we do not know how the psychology of learning using technology, we do not know. We only know using some technology, but not learning using the technology, we do not know. That means that we have to really undergo some transformation also. In other words, today's world, actually, with the explosion of knowledge that is happening, we don't need learned masters. See, teachers are seen as learned masters. They have learnt everything, they are masters. But today we need learning teachers, not learned masters. The difference between a master and a teacher, you should be yourself learning. And because the world is changing so fast, the explosion of knowledge is so fast. I recall a few years ago, there was a survey that was done in Bangalore, and the information technology leaders were asked a question by the engineering people, that what is the kind of students do you expect to serve in your system, the ICT? They said nothing. The problem for us is when students come after their engineering thinking that they already know, we have a bigger problem. We only want people who can learn faster, not really those who think that they already mastered learning. We don't want that. I think that is the new world. For a teacher also today, don't really think that I know and the children do not know. This is the way we go now. But I think we have to learn to become co-travelers in learning more and more, because the children have access to more knowledge than what is there in your textbook. And children are already accessing that knowledge through other means. And we are all the time spending our time in mastering a few things that are in the textbook to really give to the children. And this is the dichotomy that we are creating in the classroom. The learning that happens through technology, which the children are accessing, is not the way we are looking at knowledge and learning. I think we need to change our way of really looking at it if we want to really remain relevant to the changing world, and also keep our schools and education system more inclusive, and not to create another wedge which is what people have called in various ways as digital divide, as they are calling, which is a reality, although in your schools you may not realize very much that digital divide. But after all, even when India, people always say that India, so many millions are using, and then India will have the largest number of mobiles. India will have the millions of people using computers. India will be the biggest market. Yeah, it's a big market for the Western world in terms of that. But how many people? Millions here is nothing, because we are talking of billion. So where is the question of talking only of millions here? A few millions doesn't really make any difference. The few millions may be very big for the American world, for its Western world, but for us, where we are 1.2 billion that we are talking about, the population of 120 crores that we are talking about, a few millions just doesn't mean anything to us. So the digital divide is a reality in this country. How do we really bridge this? How can we use our classrooms to really create an inclusive phenomenon? That the biggest challenge for the teacher is that you have to become part of that world if you want to remain relevant and create an inclusive world of that kind. That is the new role that the teachers will have to really engage with. Next point that I want to make is that as the world has changed, the society has also undergone enormous transformation. The social world from which the children come has also undergone enormous change. Now, can you be intellectually engaged with the child? The child should feel that there is an intellectual engagement in the classroom that is happening. It doesn't have to really seek that intellectual world outside. In the classroom also one could be. Can you be intellectually engaged with the child? Can you be really shaping the personality of the child if you do not socially and emotionally engage with the children? Is a question that we should ask. As I said earlier, can you just say that I am a mathematics teacher? How can I really bother? Why should I be bothered so much about the personal life of the child? Can we be? Can we really engage in that fashion? Can I be engaged with the child and influence the child if we don't do it? If you are not really engaging with the total personality of the child, teacher is not required. As I said, the monopoly of the school for only transmission of knowledge is breaking up. It may not be happening imminent, it may not be immediately happening, but I tell you it is written on the wall. That is what MOOC phenomenon, that's why I quoted that. That you can access all those things. You don't have to come to school, you don't have to come to college. Still you can access. You have today so many people who are working and earning much more money who are school dropouts, but they are doing very creative, innovative things they have done in their life, and in modern technology they have done without really completing their schools and colleges because they have access to knowledge of a different kind. So if you want to remain relevant as teachers in the new world, I think we should also recognize the children who come to you and the age in which they come to you. I am saying this because the children who come to you, it is also a period, a growing child is also a period, an adolescent in your school is also a period when the children in this confused modern complex world is also searching for one's own identity. I just let me read from another report again, which an international report which says, the years that an individual spends in schooling is characterized by profound physical changes, by an increased interest in relationship building with others, especially with the peer group members, and by a capacity to discern both personal values and those of the adult world. In short, this is the period in which the young mind is searching to develop a sense of unique self-identity as a human being in relation to others, locate oneself in a historical, social, and cultural space, a period where silently the young individual is mapping his or her past and landscaping the future. Teacher occupies a central place in this silent exploration of the children. The question is that What the modern school has done is created a distance between, said that the family will do all the social, emotional and everything. School will only give actually the knowledge and skills, and that is our job. But I think we need to really rebuild this phenomenon, reconfigure this phenomenon. Homes are not doing anymore many of those things. That world of division of labor between the home and the school is breaking up. The school itself, which was so much monopoly it had in terms of knowledge and skills transfer, is also being threatened in that area. So how do we really reinvent ourselves? In order to reinvent ourselves, engage with the total personality of the child, as I said earlier. Engage and be a co-traveler in helping the child to rediscover, reinvent one's own self-identity, which is a personal journey that a child takes. We are not bothered. After all, the teachers are not only those people, after all, the good teachers in a school, all of you are good teachers probably, are not only those teachers whom the good teachers are those who are liked by the children. They are not only those teachers who teach good physics or mathematics, they lend their shoulder to the children when they are upset, when they are not comfortable. Isn't it? They are the good teachers. I think we need to really get back to that if you want to. In this modern world where everything is disturbed, everything is changed, I think this is a very, very important thing to really look at in terms of that. I would also like to read, therefore, one more small piece in my writing. In general, the modernity framework has stressed the irrelevance of the past, encouraged skepticism about traditions and indigenous cultures, and in many cases weakened the ties between generations. Parents themselves, perplexed by the immense and ceaseless transformations of the world, are often no longer sure of where they stand, what they should do, or whether their behavior is suitable in relating to the young. Most societies today, the industrialized ones certainly, but most others too, are caught in the turbulent waters of a historical transition in which patterns of relationship which formerly defined the identities of individuals are muddled. I think here is a very important new role that the teachers have to reacquire. I would say it has to be reacquired. We did have, but we gave up because of the kind of restructuring of the school that has come. But I think it is time, if we want to regain our importance, that we really reacquire this and reconfigure our own roles of this. The last point that I want to say is that our children are also growing up in a world which is small, which is different from the world probably in which we grew. Of course, that happens to every generation. That's what we call the generation gap. But I want to emphasize on something, what globalization has done. Globalization doesn't mean only transfer of capital, movement of capital and goods from across the borders of the world, which is what the economic definition would give. Nor is it only in terms of ICT, but the communication world is also shrinking. When they meet somebody on the Facebook, they are not just meeting them on the Facebook. It influences their personality. But it's not just that. Even physical world has also undergone tremendous amount of contraction. I'll just give an example. When I grew up in Mysore and Bangalore, and if I walked on the Mahatma Gandhi Road, MG Road in Bangalore, or Brigade Road, I would have only heard Kannada and Tamil. And we used to